Hello and good afternoon to everyone. I would like to welcome you and thank you for joining our International Human Rights and Criminal Justice Summer School, Law on the Bosphorus, which is organized annually by the Istanbul University of Law Faculty in collaboration with Leiden Law School. The 2020 Bosphorus Summer School will be focused on relationship between criminal law and human rights during COVID-19 pandemic. As we all know that due to the particular circumstances linked to the COVID-19 pandemic, many countries have imposed emergency measures on its population, such as self-isolation and restriction of movement, which are also directly affecting the functioning of their legal system. The courts are facing a number of challenges due to the lack of staff, hearings are being cancelled or postponed, and access to justice temporarily limited. That leaves the legal values questionable. Let's not lose more time and give a start to this interesting lecture. Now I'm going to bring in our panelists. Today we have Ilija Manasiev, who is current PhD candidate, research and teaching assistant from the University of St. Cyril and Methodius, which is located in Republic of North Macedonia. In his presentation, he will provide us information on legal values in the time of the pandemic. Before the start, all the participants, please use the chat feature of Zoom for any technical issues. But for your questions, I will be looking at Q&A section, so please put your questions for the Q&A section. Dear Manasiev, if you are ready, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you, I think.
Okay, I'm very glad to participate in this international summer school, but I would have been more happy to be present in Istanbul, in wonderful Turkey, especially to feel the hospitality of Turkish people and our colleagues from the Faculty of Law. I would like to give special thanks to Professor Sozer, who is a great organizer, and I hope that this is going to be very well organized, although it is in another format. And I hope that very soon we could meet in Istanbul or Skopje. As for today's lecture, I have made my concept to speak about legal values in the time of pandemic. Otherwise, I would have spoken just only for legal values, but this is a very interesting time that we live in. So I thought I could make a mix between the legal values and the possibility of making it in the context of our current situation. In fact, considering that this is a summer school of students of different levels and different fields of maybe legal studies, first of all, I would like to start by explaining for everyone, for every attendees, the values in general and what are the specifics of the legal values. Legal values is my field of study for some few years, and I hope that I could manage to inform you and to make you think more of the legal values as concepts, not only as part of the questionnaires for passing the exam of the legal philosophy. So this is needed because we have to have a unanimous view on what we will understand as legal values. So we start the legal values as a part of the legal axiology, mainly as the part of the legal philosophy, as it's one of the fields of studies that make the legal philosophy complete, together with the gnoseology and ontology of law. These are concepts that are currently very connected to the law. That's why they are different from the basic values. But when we speak of axiology of law, we have to see what is the background of the name. In fact, it is a name which is consisted of two Greek names. The first one is axios, which is explained as worthy, and the other one is logos, which is science. So When we speak about legal values, we speak about the science of the worthy or the science of the values. Sometimes you can find it the axiology of law being called a theory of law, or sometimes also as a philosophical study of goodness or on values. So its most significant part lies in the considerable expansion that is given to this meaning, and the unification, and sometimes some different concepts and questions that can arise from this concept, which are, for example, the philosophy of morals, the philosophy of ethics, the philosophy of aesthetics, and so on. So sometimes we can say that one of the theories is the subjective theory of the values in general, values being as a part of the general axiology or the general study of philosophy. And they can be viewed in a more subjective manner, and they can be also viewed in some objective manner or impersonal manner. Axiology is one of the theorists, for example, Rosenthal, says that axiology is the branch of philosophy dealing with the quality of value. Not only just explaining what the value is, but explaining also what is the quality of value, what is the essence of value, what is the essence of motivation of human activity, for example, if we speak about this branch. So if we go further on, we can, in this subjective view of explaining the values, we can also cite the idea of Chopra that axiology is the branch of philosophy that studies judgments about values, including both of ethics and aesthetics. So every time when we speak about subjective type of valuing, we have to consider the one very significant fact that the humans can value other things, and they can also be valued as persons. So it is one of the ways to look outside and value the world outside of ourselves, and the other part is to be valued as persons, as humans. So in this context, when speaking about the legal values, they are closely connected to the law. They're closely connected to the norms, because apart from the human being homo juridicus making norms, I could add that the great significance of the person is that the person is also homo axiologicus. So it is, or homo axios, it is a person, it is a human that drives his motivation or her motivation by the values it possesses. Sometimes we speak about relativity of values. That is the concept and the approach of the relativist theorists who say that every society has its own values, every state has its own legal values, and if we speak about values, we can go also to supra institutional or supra-state level, and we can say that we are concerned to have international legal values made into the norms of the international legal institutions. For example, in this case of the pandemic, we have the possibility to consider the legal values in the constitution of the World Health Organization. So I will speak about that afterwards in the other part of my presentation. And so I would state that the notion for the activity of the people for trying to understand what the value and what especially the legal value in legal theorists is that all the time we have different connotations or different definitions the term of the values. So, for example, if we go to ancient times, for example, the idea of Anaximander or Parmenid is that justice regulates the whole cosmos. So the first concept of justice is that it is the regulation of the whole cosmos in itself. We can see that afterwards, for example, in the ideas of Plato, we see that justice is perceived as happiness and injustice as unhappiness. Justice and injustice has been one of the concepts that is mainly influenced by also other human thoughts and other philosophical aspirations for the people to be equal. So in every type of society, we can see that even in different types of history, we have different definitions. On the contemporary side, we see that most of the theorists about legal values are considering the Radbruch idea for justice, for striving for justice at all times, and this combination of other values, but prevailing the justice concept above all. There has been also in the antiquities, in the antique times, there has been ideas to see justice as equal to its own, especially in the Pythagoras table of thinking. The justice is perceived as something that is equal to each other. So even if the numbers when they're multiplied, they're equal to each other when they're doubled. So we have had many different ideas about the values. What is the idea of the values? Why do we need values? Why we don't need just norms? The problem of the human society is that humans are not very capable on living their own life only on instincts, because they have been socialized and they have had their norms being part of their everyday life. The modern neurobiologists claim that even the development of the brain has in some kind very significant place when we speak about human evolution. It can be found in the researchers of Bovan. For example, do we need norms, or do we need values? If we say that we need only norms, we're going to go deeply into positivism, and we have had many bad examples from history. For example, in Nazi Germany, where they had only norms that were, in fact, that had some aim, but they were not valuable. Inside the norm didn't have the spirit of value, or didn't have any value in a broader context. So our values will give some certainty for the future, because if we create the society and the state on legal values, we could very easily speak about normativity or process of lawmaking being as in the process of legal values. The big question is, are there universal human values, and could we as individuals share to everyone our own values? So it is a question: what is the essence of values, and what are the commitments to every person deep inside to feel its own values? We could find several relations concerned to values. when we speak about values, we have in mind also the legal values as part of the whole concept of values. So, for example, we can see the values as part of the human cognitive system. We know that as humans, we value what is useful for our existence, for example. Many times we make our decisions based on the values we share. Often we group with certain people that share common values. Sometimes we agree or disagree with the people based on the things or the concepts that are closer or different to our argumentation. We can very clearly give argumentation to a certain value. The relativity of value should be defended by the arguments, should be defended by the common ideal or the common good. For example, in philosophy, in general axiology, we say that the common welfare and the common welfare of the being is one of the values. In the legal concept, when we speak about the legal values, there are some scholars like Jovanovic who say that, for example, the peace should be one of the legal values that could prevail after all. Justice is a very, very narrow concept of what should be also one of the guidelines in the human values, especially in the legal values and in the legal norms that could be created out of these values. Values being a part of the legal system, we have to have in mind that the legal values have been before the law. They were a part of the customs, part of some moral laws, which were made as a set of values, and they have influenced afterwards the legal systems. One of the possibilities is that we as species have evolved because of the norms which we have created, and we also have to say that we have had some internal ideas and concepts put in these legal values. For example, the idea of equity or the idea of anti-discrimination, the legal values of equality should follow the idea that our certainty for the future as living in a society in the state concept could be certain. So we can see the difference and the types of the different legal values. We more or less study the legal values both in legal theory and in legal philosophy, where in legal philosophy we try to find the essence of the legal values, and in legal theory we try to find the essence of legal values being incorporated in legal norms. Also, the legal values can be viewed in this topic in the time of normal circumstances and in time of different circumstances than everyday normal circumstances are, which is the extraordinary, for example, situation when we have with the pandemics at the moment. The idea of values also makes distinction in legal theory among the various schools of law. For example, there is the claim of the positivism, and this claim is that the moral values neither influence the shape of positive law, nor they influence on its validity. So when we speak about the value in the law itself, when we claim that morality is nothing else than only psychological phenomena, we go to the aspect of moral feelings and on something that is generated in our mind, in our brain. So this is a little bit narrow thinking of the values itself. But sometimes more sophisticated view of this positivism, for example, in Joseph Russ, claims that the law possesses internal authority. So this gap between the ideal concept of law and the positivist concept of law is also a clash of the thinking on how these different theorists think about legal values. When we speak about values, we can speak about the connection between the values and the law and the lawmaker or the lawgiver. So sometimes we can say that it is sum of all the lawmakers, or sometimes we can say that it is value of one or the more several persons unified with the values of the others. So if, for example, one parliamentarian has a set of laws to be made in the parliament, in his views, this norm should share his own value or the value of the constituents that he has behind his mandate. For example, in parliamentarian democracies. So sometimes it is they are shared. What we can see in terms of legal values, especially in times of understanding them, is that they are some kind of sui generis semiotic phenomenon. We can say that these are special axiological or valuable presuppositions that have a logical value. So sometimes they can be true or false, which means that we can specifically say if some value is put into some specific law context, legal context, or some specific legal text. Also, one of the authors concludes that Zajecki concludes that we can always determine the global evaluation of any given state of matter in other words, the truth about axiology in law, or it is epiphenomenal to legal norms. When we go to the possibility of the legal values being much more different in the times of pandemics, we have to consider that in times of pandemic we share some other needs. So the legal norms are specially designed for these special needs we have. But on the other hand, we cannot make people completely abiding these norms. For example, one of the legal values is the human dignity. We have seen all over the world the examples of people changing respirators. It was in a different manner. We have seen that sometimes the younger generation gave respirators because they were not in so big numbers to the elderly person to help them in their valuing system, thinking that the elderly people have more need of the respirators, and thus their life is more valuable. On the other side, we have had the opposite examples of, for example, seeing elderly people giving their place for the respirator to the younger generation, thinking that by their value system, they have had mostly part of their life, and that they would like to share and to give place to the younger generation. So in these terms, we come to the idea, to the essence of the values, especially the legal values, is when sometimes we, inside of us, we feel the need to do not what the law gives to us as a possibility, but what we as our will, or our way of thinking, of our way of judging, of our way of valuing things, can consider by its own will. So when we say about when we speak about also about equality, we saw that in the time of pandemics we all shared the notion that we are all equal and that we all need equal treatment. So sometimes people can be seen that they have their sense of equality inside them, or some type of moral compass, or maybe if we speak about in Kantian way, some moral prerogative to do such thing, motivated by the values they share. Sometimes we can also speak about the legal values or values itself, even in time of pandemics, as an institutional values or institutional values that are put into the into the into the norms that regulate the work of some of the institutions. At this point of time, it was very interesting to read the constitution of the World Health Organization. Since I'm not a medical person, I'm not an epidemiologist, I wouldn't judge how they cope with the current situation, but I would like to consider analyzing from a point of legal values their constitutions and the values put inside. So, for example, the values of the WHO workforce reflects the principles of human rights as it is written in their constitution, universality and equity established by the constitution, as well as the ethical standard of the organization. Sometimes many people make wrong they put equation between the legal values and the legal axiology and legal ethics. The ethics mostly concerns of how we deal with the values, not what the legal values in the essence are. So, as some of the core values of the World Health Organization are their actions and recommendations are independent. So they are based, and they shouldn't be influenced by other people. So they have some kind of in legal terms sovereignty of their decisions, which on the other hand, their decisions are supposed to be fair, transparent, and timely. Also, we can say that we have to have some professionalism in terms of legal values, in terms of committing to the health issues. And so, if we see the values that are imprinted in this constitution, we can see that they uphold the highest standards that is written of professionalism across all the roles and specialization. So they are guided by their best available science, evidence, and technical expertise. It is written that they continuously develop themselves to innovate and respond to a changing world. In fact, this was rather a big challenge for this changing world that has been in terms of pandemics since March this year. What is very important is that their values are also part of their personal integrity. Sometimes when we speak about legal values or values in general, we have to have in mind that these values are mainly concerned about personal integrity to put them in action. So first of all, the person has to have own integrity or integrity of the profession to make the valuing on some situation or on judging how to act in every situation. So the integrity is also one of the values that is put into these values of the World Health Organization, and they say that not only that they would engage in the activities honestly and in good faith, but also they have the responsibility and they hold themselves accountable for the words and actions they make. So I hope that in the near future there would be some more ways and ideas to cope with this accountability, because there are some structures that say that in their opinions the World Health Organization has had quite a relatively different approach to this pandemic. But on the other hand, if we see the nature of the pandemic, we can say that it is needed that people could value and make their approach much more dynamic, because this is a pandemic which is changing more than anything that has been seen before. When we speak about the integrity of the persons and the values and legal values that people have inside them, we can say that also the origin of this virus or in this pandemic can be valued in these terms. So, for example, if we at this time we don't know what is the origin, but we hear from scientific researches that this is a virus that has been done in laboratory conditions, and that is it's not something that came out of nature. On personal level of integrity or personal level of values or legal values, we all know that if someone, it is mostly criminal act in most of the states, in Macedonia as well, it is a criminal act to make someone ill if you know that you are a bearer of some kind of virus. So on a personal level, on a level of integrity, we also have to have the values and the legal values in times of pandemics as well. We have to shift our way of thinking on the valuable way of thinking, not on the necessity way of thinking, because we know that when the resources are not equal to everyone, there might be conflict of every nature. And also it was the case of the shortage of respirators in many countries. So many of the countries found out some new ways to come to these machines, although some of the doctors value that these machines only put the disease, only can put the disease very further on, not making it very efficient. But on the other hand, this is the place that we could discuss also the collaboration of all the people as one of the values, or solidarity as one of the values in law. So, for example, the whole system has been has shown solidarity in most of the countries. For example, in Macedonia, the most of the hospitals joined forces. It doesn't matter if they were from the public health funded by the public health fund, or if they were private hospitals, in order to prevent the spreading of the virus so much. On the other hand, we can see this in also global level, and that is why it is very important that the main institutions as the World Health Organization is to put its efforts to make these values very visible, because one of the values imprinted in their constitutions is that they are caring about people selflessly and giving everyone's right to health. Everyone's right to health is one of the basic human rights, and this is what should be done in international and also on national level. Also, the philosophical and psychological way of thinking and values is also imprinted in their constitution, and they share the values, and especially I would quote, as it is written, that they show compassion for all human beings and promote sustainable approaches to health. So this is another way of showing what values share these institutions on an international level. Also, having in mind that this constitution was adopted at the International Health Conference, which was held in New York from the 19th till the 22nd of June, 1946. I'm giving this years as in my idea to show that that one of my theses is that the legal values are not connected to time, but they are connected to legal nature. Although maybe 1946 is rather far from 2020, we can see that these values that were imprinted in this constitution are things that are not things that can be put aside only by the time that passes. In their constitution, it is said that, I quote, health is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. The enjoyment of highest attainable standards of health is one of the fundamental rights to every human being without distinction of race, religion, political belief, economic or social condition. We can clearly see the legal values of the institution that are anti-discriminative values at this point, and that they are values for equality of the people as a species, because it values the human health. So the other way that we can see these institutional legal values in this type of institutional analysis of the constitution of the World Health Organization is that the health of all the people is fundamental to the attainment of peace and security, and is dependent of the fullest cooperation of individuals and states. End of the quote. So we can see that these legal values, for example, the legal value of peace, is part of the ideas that govern the World Health Organization. Preserving the peace and security as intention and fundamental priority of the organization gives the people chance to see that this is the priority in the institution that is made of most of the countries that are part of this institution and have their delegates. So we can see that everyone in the time of pandemics shares the same view. I would like to be very optimistic, and I would like to see the world united as it is of fighting this disease. And I hope that sometimes these types of normative ideas and values put into the constitution of some organization will drive the people in their personal belief, and they would share the same ethics, especially because the value of peace is one of the value that prevails over the other values in the world. So on this occasion, very important to say in times of pandemics, especially in the legal values, is the preservation of peace, because the peace is in the overall values that the law can govern. It is on the top of all the values. Someone could say why. Well, it's because if we don't have peace in national or international level, we cannot ask for any of the other legal values as human dignity are, or as order are, or as public order are, or as other values in general. We can say that according to this, also the legal values were a part of the relations between the states. For example, some of the states opened their borders to the other states. Therefore, I would like to thank Turkey opening the borders for our citizens, and many of our citizens are part of going to tours in Turkey. Not all the countries opened their borders. Some of the borders, for example, the European Union closed the borders for our citizens, and some of the borders opened their borders, but you have to have a PCR test in order to go. So we can see that on the international level, in times of pandemics, the national borders have significant role in this process. We can see that some of the countries have made a special policy in order to put their citizens back in their countries, organizing special flights, helping their citizens. So this point of time, in the time of pandemic, we can see that the legal values are closely connected to the concepts of, for example, the citizenship. Now we can see how all the countries care about their citizens based on the citizenship of the country they have. So this pandemic was a very good test for the legal system in its possibility to cope with fundamental problems as the pandemic is. Because this pandemic spread all over the world, we were supposed to find unified ways to cope with the health issues, with the issues of the government's responsibility for the health of the other people. What was especially interesting in this period of the pandemic, it was the possibilities of the governments to make some measures that are extended to the measures of, for example, the curfew, the police curfew, which prohibited people's freedom. Freedom as being one of the basic fundamental human values and one of the legal values. So the right to freedom, one of the basic human rights, was in the times of pandemic, it was prohibited in some territories, or it was prohibited for a certain period of time. The legal values of this norm was to ensure the benefit of the whole community. On the other side, having exemptions who could violate the curfew. So we can see that the states in times of pandemic, they should try to find a balance between the legal values and the norms that are defending the public health, or the bigger cause. In this case, to have more healthy people, and not to have the danger or the possibility to be in contagion. So when we speak about legal values, especially in this time of pandemics, we could see that the legal values could be some kind of concept of, they could make concept of realization of the aims, or they could orient the states to have some higher aim than the everyday function of law, which on the other hand, especially when the values are concerned, is supposed to be equal to all. So one of the possibilities of the legal values is that legal values can make its own activity through the legal norms, or through the legal or through the personal integrity and the personal affirmation of personal values. Why was that? Why was on the other hand, everyone that was following the order didn't have any kind of sanctions. But on the other hand, the sanctions, or the new sanctions that were imposed, were the sanctions that could defend the legal values of the health and security of the other citizens. So, for example, this was the first time in Macedonia that we have had a police curfew, and we had a big challenge to make our freedom of movement possible, or to live our lives at full pace. But we hope that sometimes from now we could all share the benefits of this situation. What we saw also in this time of the pandemics and the legal values is that we have had not equal development of the legal values and the legal norms in different countries. The promotion of health and the possibility of stopping the spreading of disease was not done equally by everyone. Partly it was part of this relativism of values that every society and every state has much more different and relative values that they share. Sometimes we can see that this was the part of the culture. For example, we saw that where in those countries where people have much more closer contacts in terms of convention of greetings or hugging, we have had the mostly bigger contamination of the space and the people around them. And on the other side, where in the cultures where they don't even shake hands, they didn't have so much spreading of the virus. So in this relativity of values, legal values, and the conventions, we can see that we all share the same goal, but sometimes on this path we do act in a way that our human values are made, or we judge the actions of the government as the part of the state norms. Especially in the times of pandemics, it was very interesting to see how the governments spend their monies, the taxpayers' monies, especially in public procurements, and also these legal values that have to be part of every institution that makes spending of the taxpayers' money. So we saw overall that in times of pandemics, we have to have big spendings from the government, and we have to have transparency in this process, because in this time people are very sensitive to the overall funds that the government has, especially if the possibility is that these funds are used for the purposes of health. It also raised one other question, which arose as a part of spending of the state in normal conditions, and the different types of investing into health policies and health insurance funds, or health or public health security, and possibility of spending those money. So I think that the worst part of the pandemics is maybe in front of us, because it will create very different types of human behavior. It might ruin some of the values that we have had so far, and it might make people not so much not so much free in their connections and relations to each other, because of the possibility of them being contagious from another person. So it is going to be a very great challenge for the theory, or as well as for practice. And I hope that we could manage ourselves as human beings using technology and everything in order to make our values much more wider and much more reachable to everyone. So I would like that to think that we could use all this technology to connect to each other, and to see what is the best of our development as humans, in terms of having everyone safe. That would be so far. I hope I managed the time fine. I shared with you my thoughts, some of my researches, and I have to say that this summer school of yours is one way to show the world that the world never stops, especially the education never stops. And I hope that from the presentations of the others, we could have some common values in terms of having or finding some new ways to fight these pandemics. Thank you for everything, and I hope to see you in Istanbul or Skopje in some other normal times.